if you have a desire for your family to go in a certain direction or start something new, how do you go about that with your husband and not lead, quotation marks, the family? What would you tell the ladies in that situation?
Well, you kind of just said it.
Don't.
I feel like we just said it.
Yeah.
Don't lead.
Don't go about it.
But in prayer, so I have my husband and I communicate about everything. And so I've never, I guess I don't struggle with, and I know some women do, I don't struggle with the fear of bringing something to him that might be conflicting, that we might fight about, because I'm just not scared of fighting for the right reason. So with that, things got brought up, and I bring stuff to him. And just like he does with me, when he brings stuff to me, we wait for God to work on each other's hearts. And we wait for as long as it takes. Because the Lord gets to determine what we get into, and when we get into it, our very first question, right, about leading as a family, so it goes with all of those things. So leave the Lord time to work, and really trust that he is working, and trust that he has the ability to do that, and then don't get in the way. 1 Peter 3 explains it very well, and among other passages. So the not leading is not just sitting there just waiting and twiddling your thumbs. It's in prayer, saying something, presenting something if you need to present it, and giving him the information, and then prayerfully letting God do the work. And that can be super hard, but it doesn't have to be, because I don't know, it's with anything, right? I can think what I think about it, or I can be reminded of what God says about it, and I can be reminded of who God is. And so Philippians 4 again, be anxious for nothing, and in all things, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, make your requests be made known to God, so that God's peace can cover you in those times of waiting. So that's a real thing. That's a real, I don't know what the word is. It's God set it up, this system that he gave us for finding peace with him. It's purposeful, because if I'm going to, in thankfulness, be bringing him things in prayer, then I'm going to be automatically remembering what I'm thankful for, and remembering how big he is, and I'm going to be remembering how he is able to actually do what I'm asking him to do in our home. So it's your faith, it's your personal walk again.
The question was if I have a desire, right? If I have a desire.
Yeah.
The Bible's really clear that if you're following the Lord, he'll give you the desires of your heart. So you don't need to worry. You don't need to fret. And so if, and I actually am different than Lynn, I don't know that I would say anything to my husband. A lot of times I don't, when we talked about adopting our sons, I wanted to foster them weeks, if not months, before I ever said anything to Zach. I just prayed about it, because I didn't want it to be me that came to him and said, I want to do this. And he loves me. He'll do Zach will do whatever for me. He wants to please me. I think most husbands want to please their wives. And so in that, I didn't want him to please me. I didn't want him to submit to me. He's so sweet. He would want to give me all things. So instead, I just prayed about it quietly by myself with the Lord. And I told the Lord, Lord, this is my desire. And if it's not to be, then change my desire. And then Zach came to me and said that God was telling him the same thing. Him and I both sat down, and we both had been shown, he had already had verses that God had given him. So in that, I didn't want to persuade or move him. I wanted him to hear it, so when it happens, we both were sure that God had spoken to us. And so that's one thing I would say. But in other areas, if it's something like a ministry I want to go get involved in, or something that I want us to do together, I'll go chat with Zach and I'll tell him, but I leave it there. So you said, it said, the question said, how do I go about that without leading my husband? And I would just encourage you, don't go about that. Tell him what your heart is, tell him what you want, ask him to pray about it, and then you just sit and you pray and you ask God to faithfully give it to you. He'll change your husband's heart if it's not that, or he'll open up doors, or he'll show your husband the need for that. And if your husband, Zach will forget things. Matt said he has all the information. If I feel like my husband's forgot, then I'll pray and I'll ask God, can I bring that up again? It's been 6 months and we've done nothing with this thing that I've asked him about. There's things for us. Can it come up? And God's so sweet, because he'll bring it up in whether Steve's teaching, or someone will bring it up to us, or my husband will bring it up. So God's faithful. He is He's looking out for me, and he's looking out for my husband. And I would just encourage you, pray about it. Encourage your husband in the things that you know his gifts are. Encourage that. But also make sure that you're being a wife that is fulfilling her duties at home. I know a lot of wives right now, and I get guilty of this too, where I have all these ideas. I want to do this and I want to do that, but then I haven't fulfilled the duties I have at home or in the things I already have started, yet I want to go out and do more. So wisdom would say, make sure you're able to do the things today God's called you to and not move forward. And a lot of times husbands see that in their wives. You probably shouldn't go do this new thing because you're already a frustrated mess every time you have to do something with the kids or every time you have to make dinner, or if you can't do the things you've already been called to do with joy, then you probably shouldn't step out and do more. And so I do think our husbands are great in protecting us in that. So if your husband has said no, I would trust his leading and I would submit to it until God changes that. So
yeah, I'm kind of thinking out loud right now, which is always dangerous. But
I love it.
I feel the frustration because we live in a culture of men who are not leading, right? Their families are just getting ran over and their marriages and stuff. And it goes back to the curse where that's why the Lord put these leadership positions in place, is because the man goes, sure, whatever you want to do, and the woman was leading us in a direction that is why we're in this mess. And so God flipped that around. And so the curse is women want to take over, right? They want to run it. And men want to sit on the couch and go, okay, whatever you want to do, right? So it's a spiritual thing, right? It's a battle that we have out of the gate. And so in that culture that we live in, if I'm a mom, not trying to run over my husband, but things aren't getting done, and I just mean it like this, where I'm not going to sit there and go, well, I'm not going to get in the Bible or anything because you're not leading me spiritually. Like, there are things that I have to do in the context of serving the Lord that's not running over my husband's. Now, those lines cross over very quickly. But if I'm raising kids and I'm married to a guy who's just not doing what the Bible calls him to do, then as a mom, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to teach my kids about the Word, and I'm going to take them to Sunday school, I'm going to do all those things. But again, you can find a way to do that without running your husband over and encouraging him to take the reins. Sometimes, I know in my marriage, my wife will do everything right, and she will come and tell me, hey, I think that you should talk to your kids this way, or you should have presented it this way. And sometimes it comes down to patience, where I get it, man. It's frustrating to sit there and tell this dude over and over and over, to get it, and it's like I'm not doing it, and I'm not doing it, and I heard what you said, and then I lose my focus and come back, and some of it, we just need grace. And we are trying. We're just dudes. So I like everything that you said, and it's a balance. Pray for him for sure, and all the things that you want, like you already pointed out, the Lord's going to give you the desire of your heart. So again, we read the stories. There are times when women were all alone and had to suffer because their husband didn't lead, but there's a way to encourage him in that process, and then sever the relationship. And so through the Word and the wisdom of how that works, and men and women and all that stuff, you got to go to the Lord and find that balance for you, especially for your specific situation.